Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we will cover how to program rep ranges and loads to maximize hypertrophy. Rep ranges and load have an inverse relationship. This means that the heavier the load is, the less reps that we can perform, and the lighter the load is, the more reps that we can perform. This means that rep ranges and load are essentially the same concept because a change in one variable results in a change to the other. Therefore, we don't need to specify the exact rep ranges and loads used for a training program, rather we can naturally adjust one based on the other. So what rep ranges and loads are best to maximize hypertrophy? Well, there doesn't seem to be any best rep range to use for the goal of muscle growth, rather we can equally achieve hypertrophy across a spectrum of different rep ranges and loads. As a practical range, training anywhere in the 6 to 20 rep range can achieve similar hypertrophic outcomes, provided that each set is taken close to failure. This is because as long as sets are taken close to failure, all muscle fibers will be recruited and trained by the end of the set. So while muscle growth can be achieved across a large spectrum of rep ranges and loads, there are some considerations that may influence what specific rep ranges we implement. Compound lifts are generally better suited to the lower end of the hypertrophy rep range spectrum. Compound lifts involve other muscles and joints, which means that there is more total work being done by the body. This means that other systems can fatigue before the target muscles. Accessory muscles, stabilizer muscles, and the cardiovascular system may fatigue with higher rep ranges during compound lifts. For example, performing a back squat with high rep ranges may cause the cardiovascular system to fatigue before the quads and glutes, or the trunk stability muscles may simply lose tightness towards the end of the set, causing a performance decline. Therefore, most compound lifts are best suited to the 6 to 12 rep range rather than higher rep ranges. In opposition, isolation lifts are generally better suited to the higher rep range of this spectrum. Isolation lifts have minimal involvement of other muscles and joints, which means that there are no other systems which are likely to limit performance before the target muscle. Furthermore, it is probably more injurious for trainees to load a single joint with heavy loads, as all of this tension will be directly experienced by a single joint rather than being distributed across multiple joints. Therefore, isolation lifts are generally best suited to the 12 to 20 rep range rather than a lower rep range. The other consideration when implementing rep ranges into a program is exercise order. Generally, higher rep ranges induce more cardiovascular and metabolic fatigue. This will usually inhibit performance of following sets more than lower rep ranges with heavier loads. Therefore, we should probably avoid using high rep ranges in exercises at the beginning of a workout, as this is more likely to influence performance of the following exercises. Higher rep ranges are better suited towards the end of a workout because the fatigue that is generated won't inhibit performance of other exercises. So how can rep ranges and load be prescribed in a program? Well, rep ranges and loads don't necessarily need to be strictly programmed at all. This is because the trainee can adjust the load to suit the rep range they prefer to train in. As long as they are taking each set to the appropriate proximity to failure, then the load can be adjusted based on how their performance is trending. Furthermore, a rigid prescription of rep ranges and load doesn't allow for trainees to progress at their own pace. We can't predict how fast or slow a trainee will improve performance, so prescribing exact rep ranges and loads probably won't match up with their individual rate of progress. This also doesn't allow any flexibility for fluctuations in lifting performance over time. Let's go through some examples to make this concept more understandable. So as we can see in our example mesocycle that was created in the previous videos, we have the number of sets and proximity to failure prescribed for each exercise in each session. The rep ranges or load are left blank for the trainee to record during their training sessions. Let's take one exercise and go through how rep ranges and load can be applied. So here we have taken the incline bench press from day 1. We can see here that in week 2, we need to perform 4 sets with a proximity to failure of 1 to 2 reps in reserve. This is a compound lift but doesn't require much trunk stability, so we probably want to train this exercise somewhere roughly around the 8 to 15 rep range. Let's say the trainee uses a load of 70 kilos for this exercise, taking each set to an RAR of 1 to 2. On the first set, they perform 13 reps. In the second set, they perform 12 reps because they are slightly fatigued from the first set. The third set, they might get 11 reps, and the last set, they might get 9 reps. Performance is likely to naturally drop slightly across each set because fatigue is accumulating with each set that is performed. Let's go through another example with the same exercise. Now let's say the trainee attempts to use 80 kilos because they are feeling strong on this day. On the first set, they only get 7 reps. This is still in the hypertrophy rep range, but if they keep this load, they may drop reps lower than they want to. Therefore, the trainee can drop the load to 75 kilos for the second set. Here they perform 9 reps because the load is now lighter. Now the trainee wants to perform the last 2 sets with a slightly higher rep range, so they drop the load again to 70 kilos. They now perform 11 and 10 reps respectively for the last 2 sets. With this example, the trainee is still performing 4 sets at 1 to 2 reps in reserve, but the load has been adjusted based on how they felt during the session. Trainees can play around with a combination of different rep ranges and loads to suit what they prefer and what provides the best hypertrophic stimulus for them. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.